Hello and welcome to this mini episode of On My Bookshelf, where in this episode we're going to be looking at these little books, Wildlife Photographer of the Year Highlights Volume. There's no doubt in my mind that I love landscape photography. Why else would I get up at 3 o'clock in the morning in the summer months to go and photograph sunrise? You have to be pretty committed to do that. But it's not just landscape photography that I like. I like lots of different genres of photography. And in fact, if you've been watching On My Bookshelf for a while, you know that I've covered books from all different genres of photography. But there's probably one genre that I probably haven't covered very much, and that's wildlife. And that's despite me actually having a real interest in the Wildlife Photographer of the Year competition. Back in my early days of my journey as a photographer, I would actually often travel down to London to the Natural History Museum to look at the photographs in the exhibition. And I would also pick up the competition book as well. I've got over 10 volumes of that Wildlife Photographer of the Year competition book. But as I got more and more into landscape photography, I bought more and more landscape photography books. And as you'll probably know, books, now they're not exactly the cheapest of things. I think they're great value and they give a lot back to me. But you know, there comes a point where you have to prioritize which books you buy. And unfortunately, I stopped buying the Wildlife Photographer of the Year competition book. That was until recently. I think it was during a moment of lockdown boredom that I was surfing the internet and I came across the Wildlife Photographer of the Year competition, and I was having a look at some of the winning entries from the previous year. And I thought, well, maybe I'll buy the competition book this year. But as I was browsing to pick up a copy, I discovered these, the highlights volumes. Now these are smaller, lighter paperback versions of the competition book. But because they are cheaper, I thought I'll take a punt, and I picked up a few. While these books are mini in nature, they're certainly not light in content, even though they are the highlights volume. The photographs in these books are absolutely stunning. It's everything that I've come to expect from the Wildlife Photographer of the Year competition. There's all sorts of different types of wildlife photograph in there. So whether that's something like animal behavior or how humans have treated the wildlife environment or the environment as a whole, or even how we're treating animals, you know, and the commercialization aspect of animals. There's lots of different aspects of wildlife photography in here. And then there's just the artistic side of stuff. Some of these pictures are just simply stunning. They absolutely blow your mind and you wonder how they've managed to capture these images and how much patience or how much technical know-how has gone into capturing these images to highlight the beauty or the behavior of these animals. For me, it's just a simply stunning collection of images. And I'm so glad that I've kind of rediscovered these little mini volumes of the Wildlife Photographer of the Year. So even though the book is small, I still get a lot of appreciation for the photographs contained within. I can grab a cup of coffee on a Sunday morning, pick up one of these books, and I can sit down there and I can read the text and look at the pictures and really appreciate the hard work and the stories that these photographers are highlighting through their pictures. I think even if you've only got half an interest in wildlife photography, picking up one of these little volumes is well worth doing. For only a few quid, you get to look at some of the world's best wildlife photographs. And it's a really inspiring, thought-provoking collection of photographs. Something well worth taking the time to, like I say, sit down a Sunday afternoon and enjoy with a cup of coffee. Now, I got a few of these volumes from the Natural History Museum. If you go there to get your book from the shop, here's a top tip. Get some of these as well. These are magnetic bookmarks. They've got this year's collection's got some of this year's pictures from the competition in it, and it's great. So when you put this into your book, that little magnet holds it in place so you don't lose your place. I've been buying these for years because I just think they're brilliant. Anyway, if you do want to pick up one of these books, I'll include a link for them in the video description below. Well, I do hope you've enjoyed this little mini episode of On My Bookshelf. And if you do happen to have a few more minutes, I'm popping up a playlist for all the previous episodes of On My Bookshelf. I hope you have a little bit of time to browse through those episodes because I'm sure there's going to be a title in there that will inspire your photography. But if you have enjoyed this video, as always, I would really appreciate a like and leave me a comment. I do love reading everyone's comments. And of course, if you want to see more from myself, click on that subscribe button. But until the next one, I'll see you then.